Hello there, welcome to the Monday Media Coach Tip. Today I want to talk to you about timing in speeches. Very important topic, and one that a lot of speakers don't pay enough attention to. If you're booked to do a speech, you're usually given a time slot. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. If it's a TED or TEDx type talk, 18 minutes. You need to keep to that time. Or better still, you need to keep just inside that time. Nobody ever complains about a speaker who runs a minute short, but a lot of people will complain about a speaker who runs a minute or two long, particularly if that can have a knock-on effect through the day of a conference. If you're keeping people back from their coffee break or their lunch, or you're delaying another speaker, or worse still, cutting the next speaker's session short, that's a dreadful thing. It's a dreadfully unprofessional thing for a speaker to do. So when you plan your speech, think very carefully about the timing. Speeches tend to run a bit longer in reality than in rehearsal. So when you talk through your speech out loud, look to finish a couple of minutes before your allotted time. And the other thing is, of course, keep checkpointing through your speech. At various points in your speech, if you keep notes, just make a little mark, say 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, so you're checkpointing where you should be. You know if you're on track to finish in time. And then, of course, what happens if you find that you're either given a shorter time slot because perhaps previous speakers have overrun, or you find that you're running long when you're doing your checkpoints. You've got to cut something out. So what you do, you plan ahead of time. You think very carefully what sections of your talk are essential and what sections of your talk are non-essential. They're all going to be good, of course, because they're in your talk. But some sections you'll be able to leave out. Mark those up, highlight them in a colour, or mark them with a particular pattern so that you know when you get to that point, that story, that section, if you're pushed for time, you can leave it out. It's really very important to do that, because a lot of speakers will get towards the end of their talk, particularly if they're using slides, and suddenly realise they've got about 20 minutes of material and 5 minutes to go. So they'll click through all the slides to get to the end. So here's another tip. If you're using slides, there are ways that you can skip slides out without showing them. You can just usually type in the slide number. So you need to know the numbers of your slides, obviously. Type in the slide number and it will go straight to that slide. One of the worst things that you can do at the end of a presentation is to say, I don't have time to go through all these slides, I'll just skip through them. And then this succession of slides flashes in front of the audience. It's like their life flashing before them. It's a dreadful thing. So don't do it. Timing then, very important. So if you're given a time slot where you have to condense your speech, have your speech marked up in advance so you can leave bits out. And one other thing, it's just possible you might be asked to run long. It could be the next speaker hasn't arrived, or for some reason they started very early and they need to get to a break at a certain point. Two things you can do there. One, you can do a Q&A session at the end, which some people often do anyway. The other thing, which I think is quite useful, is to put some sections in that you can add if you have extra time. So it's the opposite of marking up sections where you can leave them out if you're running short. In short, see what I mean? What you have to do is to plan everything in advance. Think very carefully about your timing. Think about finishing early. Mark up sections you can leave out. And most of all, make sure you finish a minute or so ahead of time, and people will always appreciate you as a speaker. Good luck.